Hello, hi, good morning, and welcome to this class of Christian research or research within a Christian context. So, we are learning about doing research, and this will be our uh, third week number 3. And we have been trying to engage in the activity of trying to understand what the research, uh, mainly the academic research and on the like a post uh, high school level. So it's college level kind of research that we are looking into and trying to understand basically why and what research is. And we have discussed some formal definition and concepts related to the term research. And now we are going to try to define research as some other concepts. So we'll continue this discussion of trying to understand the concepts and the semantics or the meanings that are involved and related to the term research. So we discussed, I believe we have discussed research as an intellectual activity that demands a set of rational, logical, and judgmental process. So thus, according to this definition, research is basically intellectual activity and it requires these elements. It has to be rational, it has to be logical, and it involves making some judgments. Uh, it's a guessed judgment or learned judgment. So researchers, they are asked to make some decisions, value decisions on the data, and then the course of action and the process and attempts. So you can experiment this way or that way, because you cannot do both. Usually, you are limited. So that's kind of judgment that you are making. So research involves logics and the rational mind, and then making that decisions called judgment. And research is basically some human activity. Uh, and you don't have to be a scholar or student or researcher for that matter, or even scientist. I mean, uh, usually when we hear the word research, usually it's someone like a scientist who's taking it as their job or profession, and it includes pastors and Christian leaders. You know, as leaders and pastors, it is required for you to continue to study and research. That's kind of term, but research in the basic, I mean, uh, it could be a general term or a daily term for everyone who is trying to make a living in this hostile world that we are in. So it's an encounter. You're facing reality, and it's a given reality. You don't create the reality. You can react to the reality and try to create a better environment and try to improve your reality. But basically, reality is given because it's much bigger than who you are. So it's against the given reality, and to promote, there is a need to promote the most appropriate existence. So human existence, what we call in general terms or daily terms as life or living. So living is a kind of existence that we are experiencing every day. And to have that living, and it says we have a sense and the need in our, I think it's innate, inborn, to improve and to make it better. So if there's no need or desire to improve your existence against the given reality, then you probably would more likely to give up that intention and then that attempts. When that happens, we call it despair or depression or anomie. So these things happen to people as well. And then some people even take a very extreme measures, for example, taking their own lives. And but most of human beings, probably 99% of us, are trying to improve, and the word here is appropriate. Appropriate may not be always the best. You may choose to the better, or just to choose to be good compared to bad, and that's going to be the decision, daily decision that we make. So research basically is an act of dealing with the given reality, and then in doing so, there is some rational and logical and then judgmental actions that you need to take, just as we've seen in the first definition. So the reality can be scientific field, or it could be psychology, or it could be philosophy, literature, or it can be your pastoral field, even as a learner and as a teacher, as a pastor, as a Christian leader in some kind of institution. Whatever your pastoral context is, the thing is, we are there and trying to make a very appropriate reaction and the response to the given reality called the ministry context or pastoral context. So that's what we are trying to learn in this class. So we assume you're one of those who are in that kind of Christian setting where the learning is required. I mean, learning is going on, and it's kind of context that you may have to teach someone or lead someone in a Christian way or biblical ways, or you're the one who is learning, sitting there listening to the pastor or your teacher. And even those cases, the research is required as a learner, and then there's a research that is needed as a teacher. So that's kind of context that we are talking about. I'm just trying to remind where we are in this class. So it's an academic research, and it also has to do with the pastoral settings or within the Christian context. So that's kind of research that we are talking about. So this particular definition, research as an encounter against the given reality, this is a very broad understanding of research. So any action, any decisions, any movement, any response that you make, to survive, it's kind of research. So say that you are like a Robinson Crusoe, who has been just shipwrecked in a remote island somewhere in the Pacific, and then he has to make a survival. In doing so, as you read the story of Robinson Crusoe, he's doing all this guessing and logical, kind of rational, intellectual respond to the given reality. He has never been lived, has never lived in a tropical island before, and now he has to do it. And as the days progress and time goes on, he used his skills, intellectual minds, and then his physical ability to appropriate his existence. So that's kind of research that he has done. And so these are the examples. So you don't have to be in tropical island shipwrecked. The daily living that we are living in this modern 21st century America, it still requires certain degree of research. I mean, not certain degree of research, it's every day. I mean, very deep research is needed to survive, to live, and to appropriate yourself to the given reality. So that's the kind of research that we are concerned with. And this definition, research as a useful tool to enrich or to improve one's aptitude. Aptitude means, the new word there. Aptitude means the ability to learn. So aptitude is ability to acquire, to add knowledge, to improve your cognitive function or cognitive ability. So that's kind of research. This is basically ought to be an academic sense, but you don't learn in just schools, not just academic way. You learn. I mean, even those who are living kind of primitive, and this is a like politically incorrect word to use, but let's use it for the sake of communication. The primitive setting, like a jungle in Brazil, Amazon. You are in Amazon jungle, and you are a 5-year-old tribal kid in that Amazon jungle, and as a kid, 5-year-old boy, that you begin to learn to hunt, fish, and build a fire. These things, just following after his father, who has been hunting for years and years in his life. He teaches his son, and this kind of, you're trying to increase aptitude. In doing so, it does involve the elements of research, because research is basically your intellectual activity and your emotional activity that is responding to the given situation, the context and reality. So it's a very useful tool. The research that we are talking about, academic research, and then general, approach as an intellectual being, guessing and making decisions and making trials and then making errors and redoing things so you can improve better for the next time, more efficient, less work. These elements, it's embedded in our DNA as we are born with. And because of that, the research will it become a very useful tool to enrich, to improve, to develop your one's aptitude or learning ability. So by doing research, you learn better. Period. So that's why the research is important in any like a college level or graduate school level or doctoral level study. Because by doing research, you're not listening to someone who's telling you what to learn, but you're trying to learn yourself. You're doing your own learning. That's what the research is about. You're trying to learn the things using your own desire and your own ability and your own effort to gain that experience, that knowledge. So that's kind of research that we are talking about. So research is basically you are learning by your own effort. Even though we are using a lot of resources someone has already produced for you, still you have to do work yourself hard, work hard to gain those knowledge and resources to make it your own. So that's where research comes on. So as a pastor, as a teacher in a church setting or in a Christian institution or even in the Christian home context, you're required to do the research. You need to plan your own learning by examining and testing and then evaluating what's given, and you cannot take every information that's given, because there's some that is false, that is less, that is more. So there's something that is bad. There's some bad informations, and there is something called fake news these days. So how do you determine whether these are fake or not? By doing research. So research is a very key tool, even for just general public. Even though, I mean, if you're not a student in a classroom like this or in college, you're still a student of life. Especially when you're a Christian, you are learning continually throughout your whole life, until you die. And this learning continues. As long as there is a need for learning, there has to be some research, whether it's a serious or whether it's a simple, it doesn't matter. The research is going to be there. So research, we looking at it as a useful tool to enrich one's aptitude. Now, the research as means to resolve a given problem or issue. So you do the research not only to increase your ability to learn or increase your aptitude. Research is a means meaning a tool, as a method, or it's an approach, or it's a useful vessel that to resolve problem or issues or even needs. Life, the reality given to us, it's not perfect, and it has never been perfect. But us Christians believe it's going to be perfect someday. It's going to be completed, and it's going to be, just perfect. And that's called heaven. And in heaven, everything's going to be perfect. But until then, Christian or no, not non-Christian, doesn't matter. The life is full of problems. Not only the problem and issues, there are needs. So to meet those, especially when you're facing the problems which is incomplete or broken or weak or less, these are called problems. Less means there is going to be more. Weak means there is going to be something that's going to be stronger. See, broken means there's going to be something that's fixed or functional. See, the sickness, I mean, when you get the COVID, you'll get fever and chill and muscle ache, and these things come, and we call that situation sick. Being sick is not being perfect. You want to be healthy. Healthy is good, while the sick is not good or bad. So there's certainly a common standard for human being that is called better or complete or perfection or ideal. So when is something is less than ideal, something is less than perfect, something is less than complete, then we say there is a problem. There is a problem, or there is an issue or issues, whether it's political, whether it's social, whether it's economical, whether it has to do with education, or whether it's a family. See, every family has issues and problems. And even the rich people, they do have financial issues and problems. Because the rich want to get more rich. See, there's no end to being rich. So almost all human beings who are living on this less perfect world that we are living in today would face these issues. And how to resolve those, it takes research. Whether you're a technician, whether you're engineer, whether you're a scientist, whether you're a socialist, or whether you're a pastor or Christian leader, or even the parents. If it has children, you will have some issues and problems. And that takes some research, serious undertaking of those issues, trying to resolve it, so make it more ideal, toward the ideal, more to make it better, to improve. So this is a very deep hidden desire in human heart. So that's kind of things that require research. So research, it may be defined as a means to resolve or to improve a given problem or issue. The next. Okay, research as a strategic approach to understand and appropriate one's reality. The reality, as we have discussed, when there is given the reality, each reality is different. It's not made different. It is different from one person to the other. My reality is quite different from yours. There are like 20 students who are listening to this particular class and lecture, then there are 20 different realities that we are talking about. And we are put into that particular very unique reality, and then we are to appropriate again to respond to that reality. And it takes there is a very simple response, not deeply thought response. And by doing so, life may go on as usual. Yeah. Those simple, not deeply thought or instant response to the reality will give that much shallow result. So that means you're probably not improving or appropriating that too much as it is needed. So how do we do it? It takes some strategic approach, meaning a deeply well thought plan. Deeply well thought plan. Examining every possible scenario that might happen within the given information and data and experience that you have, and that you'll kind of think it through. Because if there's 5 scenarios that you're going to do 5 different line of thoughts, other than just simple one linear thought and then conclusion. This usually kind of approach this general most people take. But experienced, rather strategic person, which the business and the ministry and then the science and this kind of academic research requires, it does require some strategy, well thought plan. Meaning you have to think through several different options, and then consequences. Probably, you have to kind of guess what is going to happen if I do A or B or C or D, and then each will have you'll project possible results, and out of those results, possible projected guessed result, then you'll choose one course, because you cannot take all 4 different courses. Usually, you're limited by time and the resources. So that's the strategy that we are talking about. And of course, this research that we are discussing, the definition and concept does involve this strategic approach. So if you have a strategy, the advantage, the benefit of strategy is that you can save time and you can save resources, and not only that, you are going to be confident about what you are going to do and what you have been doing. So that's a benefit of us having strategy. And research itself does require a very academic strategy if you're doing academic research. And even with the pastoral research or the research within the Christian context we are talking about, that it does require a strategy, because God Himself, as we know, as we read the Bible, He is very strategic. He is. So it is natural for us to imitate that. How do we know God is strategic? We look at Jesus Christ, uh, who walked on earth like 2,000 years ago, and there's not that much record compared to the information that we get every day today. I mean, just 4 gospels written about Jesus Christ, his life, and then most of it is concentrated on the just about 3 years period where Jesus was we guess we kind of guess that he was age of about 30 to 33, and the limited pages, but still with that gives enough information for us to know who Jesus is and what he was about. And as we read those gospels, we find out that Jesus was very, very strategic, and he said, "I'm the Son of God." That's very word, which means that he is equal to God, and because of that, he was killed because he was claiming to be God himself, and there was his crime. There was a crime for his death sentence, and but as we see Jesus, he was a great strategist. He was therefore a great researcher. So going back to the definition and the concept again, a strategic approach to understand and appropriate one's reality. That's kind of research that we are talking about. Research is a routine and day-to-day life chores toward a meaningful existence. Us human beings, sometimes in your life, may have asked, why am I here on earth? Why was I born as a Korean or Chinese? Or why was I born into this particular family? And these are the kind of questions. And those questions come to this something we call a meaningful existence. So we are constantly searching for the meaning of our existence. I mean, if you're a normal human being, average human being, then everyone, not just yourself, but everyone asks this question. But usually we do not express those concerns or those questions, but we are asking for this meaningful existence, and it's routine, day to day, unless you eventually find the answer to this very question: what is going to be my meaningful existence? And this word that is given, there is so-called religion and the Christianity that we believe in. That is where we find that answer, and it takes a lot of research. And those who has not found the ultimate answers still keep asking himself or herself the very question. But even as a Christian, if you're already a believer in Jesus Christ, and then the Father God and the Holy Spirit, still we do examine ourselves every day, because we are not perfect yet. We are still in this sinful and broken world, and trying to make a living in the culture and the society and the country where the evil and good exist at the same time. And there is a decision to make. And even in our own self, there's that evil and goodness still struggling against each other. And we are called to make a proper right decision which God is intended, God desires, God approves. And that's kind of existence that continues. So day-to-day living, it takes a certain amount of research, because research demands your intellectual judgment, rational and logical, with the data and the resources that are given, the information is given. So that's kind of research that we are discussing, and try to get these concepts. Okay, why don't we take a little short break, and let me come back. Okay. Okay, we are back. Let's continue the second part of week number 3. Okay, we just discussed the concept of research, and as it is here, it's a routine and day-to-day life chores. Life chores means the daily stuff that you're doing, eating and sleeping, and then working. All these functions, daily functions, it does require some degree of research, even though you may not, realize it, or you may not call it research in most of cases, but it is research in our kind of understanding. So life, basically, whether you're living in a very complex urban setting or in a jungle somewhere in Africa, it doesn't matter. It does require a certain level and of approach for the meaningful existence. So that might be one of the most valuable research that you are going to undertake. It's going to be trying to find the meaningful existence. What does it mean to be a person? What does it mean to be good? And what happens after death? See, you may have these questions. Many people have these questions hidden, unconscious, but never work against those questions. That means they are not doing research. So we are indeed required, and this is a mandatory. I mean, it's your responsibility as a human being to try to find the meaningful existence. And many come up with an answer: it's money. It's money. It's all about money. And then the society and media and everyone tells you that once you have money, then life will be easy. Maybe life may be easier than having less money, but that does not mean that you are having a meaningful existence, because money is not going to give you any meaning other than just being rich and being kind of respected because of the money that you may have and then that you can spend, they are not looking at you, but they are looking. So that's gonna give you some the meaningful existence. And when we say meaningful existence, it means you have to be valuable as a person. So being rich or powerful or famous, it's not meaning that we are talking about. So within the Christian context, as a Christian, it is our job as pastors or teachers to provide the environment and to provide that desire for the ones that we teach and we care. Let them ask these questions and help them to be able to do that research for the meaningful existence. Okay, this is common understanding. It's an academic discipline. It's a kind of discipline that is required as a student, especially when you are a scholar or doing a PhD degree or master degree kind of level of academic work. The research is a requirement, and the college level, as we are on, it does require a certain degree of academic research. So this we may call academic research to make it more acute and exact. So it's a kind of a discipline. Discipline meaning is kind of training. It's kind of a skill that is needed. So it's an academic skill. Research as an academic skill and this discipline. Okay, now to try to understand the concept, certain definition or concept of a term then in a research, you are going to explore explore is a good word to remember when we are dealing with the concept and the research. See, you need to explore, examine some other related terms or idioms. So here are some related terms that has to do with the research. So to understand the research properly, we need to look at these terms all as well. The fields. Fields can be used in two different senses when we are dealing with the research. The field is your specialty or your expertise, like whether it could be chemistry, it could be physics, it could be engineering, it could be theology, it could be sociology. These are called fields or academic fields. So you are doing research, especially when we are doing academic research, as we are discussing in this classroom, the pastoral research. It's a kind of field. So it's in the field of pastoral ministry or Christian ministry or Christian education. These are included as a pastoral research. So that's a particular field. So which field are we in is important because that kind of narrows down the subject of study or subject of research. So that's how we first narrow down, just by determining which field this particular study or research belongs to. This kind of field that we are talking about. So in this class, we are talking about within the Christian context. So it might be theology, it might be missiology, or it might be Christian education, and it could be Christian counseling. These are the Christian field or pastoral research area that we are learning about. And then another sense of field in the research is actual the space where this research is happening. So for archaeologists, for example, who's studying the ancient the materials, their fields may be pyramid. Their field might be the desert in Arizona, digging out the fossil of dinosaurs. So these are the archaeological works. If we're working in anthropology, which is a study of human culture and human ancestry, and if you're an archaeologist, your field is the society. It could be a tribal village in Brazilian Amazon somewhere. That's going to be your field. So the field, you have to know your field. For us, the pastors and the Christian teachers and those who are doing the pastoral research, our field might be the church. Usually it's a church that you're preaching or teaching. So that's going to be your field, and your research is about that field that you are in, that space. So basically, the field, when we are talking about the academic research, it means two things. But the field also means that the where the plants, where your vegetables and where your rice grows. That's also field. Field also may mean the baseball field, the place where the athletic players play. But we are not discussing those fields, but we are discussing two different kind of fields here in research related terms. The people. People has many names in research. It could be scholar, it could be scientist, it could be lab workers, it could be testers. These are all the people who are related in doing research. Librarians, they are people. So there are many different kind of functions or professions that are related, especially academic research. But in Christian context, within the pastoral context, when we discuss about people, it's going to be pastor, it's going to be disciples, it's going to be the teachers, Bible teachers, or Christian leaders, or Christian staff. These are pastoral staffs. They are kind of people that we are going to deal with when we are doing pastoral research. Then the institutions. Any professional and academic research does have some kind of relation to institutions. There are, for pastoral research, there are basically the two different kind of institutions that we may think of. One institution is called church. The organized church with the building and the place of worship. That's kind of institution that may be the subject of pastoral study, or it could be the field of pastoral study, or it could have housed those people who are involved in that research. And so the church would be the primary and fundamental institution that we are going to discuss when we are doing the pastoral research, right? And another institution would be those research institutions. For example, there's something called U.S. Center for World Mission, for example, in Pasadena, north of here, California, right? Pasadena, California, there is something called U.S. Center for the World Mission. That's kind of institution where they study the mission and missiology, and those people who are in that institution, they do their primary job is doing research and putting out the papers and putting out the data, and then suggesting the mission trends and so on. So that would be kind of an institution that we are talking about. Say there is a certain in the Fuller Seminary, there's an institution for the psychological study, and also there's a counseling center in Tarbert School of Theology in La Mirada here nearby. So these are kind of institutions that we are talking. So most of Christian institutions other than church, they do some research works. And mission agencies, there are hundreds, thousands of mission agencies, Christian mission agencies. And you are, if we are involved in those mission agencies, whether you're a missionary or you're the sending staff, they do have some, unit or some people who are dedicated, devoted to the research functions. So we can think of many of these Christian research institutions as we talk about the concept and the definition of research. Then funds. These are not just regular funds. We are talking about research funds. Whether it's engineering or whether it's even philosophy and politics, they do have this so-called research funds. That's money collected or contributed or given to either institutions or the funds. Funds, they may have their own agency to take care of the money. So these funds, funding institutions, they are very critical part in doing research. In in a Christian pastoral setting or Christian context, we do have some research funds available. So if you're doing very professional research as a Christian scholar, then you want to have some access to these academic funds or research funds. It's some money gathered and collected in the purpose of helping those who are doing the research for the certain particular topics. Okay, research methods. It's about how you do the research. There are hundreds different kind of methods that are applied to doing research. We'll talk about the research methods later on. Research techniques. When there is a method or strategy, then there are more tactic portion of doing research. It's called research techniques. And there are thousands of different research techniques that are used in a given field. So whether you're doing sociology or theological research, there are many different techniques. And one example would be the grounded theory. Grounded theory is a kind of technique that we are using to do the qualitative. With the research method, basically there are many different methods, but one kind of method is either it's going to be quantitative or qualitative. So if we are doing a qualitative study, for example, let's say you're studying about love. How do you study love? How do you quantify your love? You cannot. So it's about quality, love, or most of psychological studies, they deal with, especially the sociology. It deals with the quality issues, and whether it's well-being. How do you measure well-being? There's no like a kilogram, milligram, or centimeters. It's not measured by those things, and those are so-called qualitative study. It's about the quality of human existence, and most of pastoral studies are going to be qualitative rather than quantitative. It's about the quality. It's about the things that you cannot measure with, centimeters or milligram or anything of that nature. And when that happens, we have something called grounded theory. This is one of many techniques. And the grounded theory says it examines each individual that are related or is the subject of the study and trying to read out the pattern. And you kind of accumulate those patterns to say this is what's happening on or what had happened, and this is what kind of quality and so on. So, I'm not going to go deep into grounded theory, but that's just one term that I introduced to explain the techniques about. And then there's going to be something called research paper. Research paper is documentation. Writing and recording your research. Not only to remember it, but many times you need to report or publish your study, your research to the public, to other people, your colleagues. You need to share those information. And to do so, it does require writings, documentations, and a research paper. We will discuss this further later on. I will just introduce this. And research mind. Some people have more of research mind than others, that's for sure. Some people are more rational, rather more logical. Generally speaking, they used to say that men are more rational and logical than women. I'm not sure if that's still the case in modern 21st century America. But in for example, just 50 years ago, not many women were educated, just like men are. And for example, in Korea, yeah, I mean, in China, of course, I think it's the same case. Men were put priority in doing schooling and learning and doing this academic stuff. So naturally, I mean, because of that, men may seem to more logical and rational. I don't think that will be the case these days. There are many more smart ladies these days. So that's kind of prejudice. Anyway, so people thought male men had more research mind than women, and that's would be not the case. The research mind is it doesn't have to do so much with how smart you are. You can be smart, yet still you may not have those research mind. Research mind is something, it's a special kind of gift, the talent. You have to have a desire to learn, and you have to have certain depth of curiosity about the things, and you have to have that intriguing mind, trying to do the to attack against the unknown, intriguing mind. And then you have to have certain desire, will, to go through tedious process and procedure, because many times research requires many trials and errors, and you have to repeat the same thing over and over again. So it takes a very diligent mindset. So these are some of the research minds that we are talking about. So going back to the term fields. So these are kind of research fields that we are talking about. It could be psychology, philosophy, physiology, and political science. All these fields. I mean, these are just examples of thousands different fields, academic fields or research fields that we have today in modern society. And I talked about institutions, research institutions. This is Getty Institute in California. It's nearby UCLA, and it's in the Getty Center. If you've been to Getty Center, you know this is kind of institution for the arts and the history, archaeology, and those things. So that's just an example of institute. Okay. Talked about research techniques. There are hundreds and hundreds of different research techniques. For example, there you see like a video capturing the what's happening, and then there's computer, there's the wireless thingy, cell phone. All these stuff are used to do the research. So hundreds and hundreds different techniques. And we talked about research paper, right? Now we'll just discuss that this subject further later on, because this is part of very important critical part of doing research. And it shows how the research writing is done. We'll take a deeper look at this later on. Yeah, the research mindset. Again, there are a lot of those questions. When you face the reality, and then when you face the problems, some people just say, oh, these are problems. Okay, that's it. They may acknowledge and, acknowledge the fact that there is a problem, there's a need, there's an issue. And many people just stop there. That's about it. Okay, I see the problem, and they don't want to deal with it. Many try to avoid that problem. And that problem is going to come back again. That issue is not resolved. Sometimes they say, it's not my problem. Okay, wait until it becomes your problem. Because any human issues and problems, you cannot say this is not my problem. We've seen the Black Lives Matter. Most of us who are listening to this lecture are not black, according to ethnic definition of black. But you cannot say that because I'm not black, it's not my problem. No, it is your problem. As long as we are in this world, especially when you're living in this age, in this land, America, it's going to be your problem. Because you're not white. Most of us were listening to this lecture. And I'm not white. I'm an Asian. I'm a minority. And it does concern me. It is my problem as well. And saying research mindset says, okay, this is my problem, or going to be my problem, or my issue someday, and I need to do something about this. Because the basic question is, what am I going to do about this problem, this need, this issue? And that's reality that we are given. And with that question, and then we need to take very rational, logical actions against it, trying to appropriate that issue, trying to improve and enrich your life, and not only yours, but life of others. See, that's what the research is about. We are doing the research not because of you or for your own safety and your own, success, but for others. That's what the research should be about. It should serve other people to improve their existence. And unless you have that kind of reason, that the respect for the research will be another means to feed your own selfish ego and selfish greed. And if that would be the case, research would not be the proper thing, and especially in a pastoral context, Christian context. Yeah, you need to think of. So that the bottom line for the research mindset: am I doing this research for my own good or to serve others? Usually, when you do it to serve others, when that's your priority, then it's also going to serve you, and it's going to provide your own good as well. But I don't want you to confuse that. Okay, I think time's up for this week, today, and I'll continue this discussion lesson next week. Until then, bye, and have a good week until next lesson. Thank you for listening.